Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cruiser, and I know I've been away for a really long time, and I do apologize for that, but I have a good excuse. I've been working, I've been writing, I've been drawing my new catalog of short stories for my webcomic for now called Dark Tales. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And today I brought you a topic that probably is of interest to you. It is YouTubers with a narrative that is anti-crowdfunding. But before we go there, let me explain to you what is crowdfunding. Well, to be more specifically, we as writers, creators, or artists, most of us, we don't have the capabilities or the monetary help to create our own projects. So with internet and media as such as YouTube, we can present ourselves and we can sell an idea and a future project that will develop itself later on with crowdfunding. There is different sites where you can put your work, put your title, and people will fund it and will help you. And you have to first have a little bit in an audience before you jump into crowdfunding. So I've been working on that, and that's why I'm here and I'm still here. And this same method can be applied to anybody. Anybody can jump into, let's say, the different sites, websites where you can post your comic, or Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Found My Comic. Found My Comic is the kind of like the new one that just dropped like last year, I think. And yeah, those are the main websites where you can do crowdfunding, present your project, and eventually fulfill the people that back you and bought your idea and your concept. So for me, that was amazing how I came to terms with this new method of creating comics, sending, well, selling comics. Well, was because and thanks for Comicsgate. And I knew the indie scene was relevant here in America, and my aim was to be involved in the indie sphere. And little by little, I started to know more people that are into Comicsgate. They are CGers. They've been longer than me here, and there is a lot of people that are really on top of their game right now, that in their different kind of areas. So I've been seeing how other people's are making a living just selling comics, and I really was inspired on that, and give me an incentive to be more persistent with my work and be more judgmental, and really try to create something meaningful out of my concepts and the new projects that I'm doing. So when I learned about Comicsgate and then how crowdfunding start, like how it works, um, a bunch of narratives, well, just one narrative, they start to surface in the internet thanks for a group of YouTubers, mainly more famous YouTubers on the nerdosphere here on YouTube, the starting trying to redefine not just Comicsgate, but trying to smear people who do crowdfunding because they want to attack kind of like the top dogs on Comicsgate and the independent movement. So their personal griefs with those specific individuals created all this infight between the indie scene, where a lot of narratives were communicated to anybody. So people will just start expanding on ideas that probably didn't have any basis on reality. And one of them, there was like crowdfunding is just based on late books or people who are just gonna rob you, and we are mainly grifters in the indie movement. And that narrative was caused and created by a really famous YouTuber in the nerd sphere, in the comic sphere, that is Eric the July. Eric the July has been creating narratives saying that people who do crowdfunding or attempt to do crowdfunding want to scam you, just want to run with your money, or they not gonna send you your comic on time, because his main counter narrative is that he is the one who knows the industry. He is the one who knows how to run business in the industry, and he wants to establish himself as a publisher. And those kind of publishers, they are kind of more greedy and play little games and dirty games with people and writers. So he needs to crush the competition. So he created narratives aimed at first to the top dogs on Comicsgate. That practically Comicsgate is more, it's basically the crowdfunding sphere. Everybody's crowdfunding Comicsgate. Nobody's rich. Nobody has the money in advance to just drop books like crazy. So we use this method to create a really good book and then expand on them. So Eric the July sees everybody on crowdfunding, in the crowdfunding sphere or on the Comicsgate sphere, as competition. And I think it's kind of like in an American tradition to just use the capitalistic ways to just be like, gimme, 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 crush, 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 crush. I'm gonna step you in your neck if you, let's say, don't follow the rules, but you don't know even the rules. So people are starting to notice the hypocrisy of a lot of these YouTubers, mainly like Eric the July and such, that are selling themselves as a solution for a non-existent problem. That he is starting to inventing, not just in his mind, but in the mind of his viewers, that crowdfunding is a bad thing now, and that should be changed, and he knows better than most creators on this independent sphere. Creators that used to work on the industry, they have a lot of more knowledge and experience than Eric. So if you notice it, it's kind of ironic because Eric and such will play a lot of psychological tactics that I love to call psychological warfare. So he used his fans, his audience, to attack or defend with a bat his company, his comics, his silly comics, and his creation, because he doesn't have any creative bone, or he doesn't have any spine to just talk comics with prose, because he's not a creative person, and his bluff is being called, and everybody know now that he's incapable to write, and he's incapable to flesh out a cohesive story with a structure and development, and he doesn't know even how to use the basic narrative structure that is the hero's journey. So the way that he defends himself is to use his fan base as a shield. He used his own most loyal fan base against people that used to believe in him, just because they start to having questions about the product that he was given to him. Because that's something really interesting, the language that Eric used, because he calls comics as products. And for me, that I'm a passionate reader and somebody who know more about books, not just in comics but in literature too, it's kind of silly to call products the life work of a lot of artists and writers for a long period of time. But his views came from the mainstream, and he wants to replace the mainstream. He wants to be a Stan Lee. If you don't believe me, there is an article written by John De La Rose where he practically admits that Eric the July is our new Stan Lee. So he practically wants to be the middleman for all the creators in the independent movement. He doesn't like your freedom. He doesn't like your independence. He sees it as a threat. So he embarked in into a war against a big, big sphere of people. Like, a lot of people are involved in the independent movement. A lot of people, not just me. And that plan now is backfiring. And the bluff is being called. Everybody starting notices the hypocrisy from Eric and his friends, and how he wants to monopolize kind of like the independent scene at his favor. And most of his followers or people who are into his comics, they think the same way, because they want to create a better movement, influencer based movement, where if you are an influencer, you have an audience that we can sell stuff, you are more worthy that if your story has quality, and if you have an arc, or let's say a timeline where you can expand your ideas. He doesn't care about any of that, because he's not a creative person. He sees comics as fast food, as something that you don't have to put too much mind to create. He doesn't care about the craft, he doesn't care about the medium. He just wants to send comics faster than people on crowdfunding. Because you have to understand that a lot of people on crowdfunding, they are just doing it by themselves, like me, because I write and draw my own stories. And sometimes, yeah, I ask other people to help me, but I can do it by myself. And I've been doing it by myself for a really, really long time. And so he wants to make sure that people like me doesn't have any opportunity or any chance to compete with him. And that's where the line was drawn, and everybody starting to just, let's say, became a detractor of Eric's and his friends. So now I am a detractor, and I know that for this video I will have a lot of heat, and a lot of people will start tagging me and bullying me on Twitter. It's fair, it's fair. But yeah, that's basically what's going on. The narrative against new creators, because crowdfunding and Comicsgate is a movement of freedom and total independence to artists, and they can handle their own IP, and that's great, that's so noble, and anybody can just be able to create a comic if you have a good concept. You've been develop your audience for a really long time, then you can sell your comic. That's something really, really great. It's something that I really want to protect. I really like a lot of people in Comicsgate. I don't know if I can call myself a CGer, but here I am. So to finish this video, I just want to apologize to my audience. If you've been around, you probably know that I tried to launch a live stream show called The Overnight Shift, live from the International Space Station. that basically was me ranting and having mental breakdowns. So I just put all those videos in private, and probably later on I will relaunch that show. I want to start with a clean slate. I want to be in a more stable frame of mind, and then I will be ready to relaunch it. Um, I'm sorry for that. I'm human. I'm still developing myself. I'm still learning how to talk, how to present myself. I'm thoughtful with all my actions, and I know that most of my opinions will be hurtful for some of you, and that's okay. If you don't like what I don't have, what I have to say, uh, that's fine. That's great. I'm not here to make you choose a side. I'm just here to tell you how I've been interpreting all these events that have been happening in the independent movement, and basically in culture right now here in America. So, yeah, please leave your comments. Let's have a little conversation here on YouTube. I want to read your thoughts. I want to know what you have to say. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, and if I became the laughing stock on Twitter for a couple weeks, it's fine. Not hurt feelings. Everything is good here. And yeah, that was the topic of today. So hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want me to keep doing what I'm doing, keep talking, kind of like these topics. And I know that I need to post more videos about comic creation, but please understand that I'm working. So have a little bit of patience with me. So that was it for today. Please drink some water. Just try to be nice with people, okay? And I will see you guys in the next video, okay? So peace.
Hi again. Sorry to bother. I just wanted to show you guys some of my work. These are some chapters that I already did. They are published and available for you to read. If you like horror, if you like creatures, you like weird stuff like me, I will encourage you to read my anthology of horror stories called Dark Tales. You want to, you can follow me on my social media, and yeah, that will be all. Thank you. Bye bye.